Hello, my friend. Do you want long-term success in your work and your other endeavors? If that is true for you, then type "I want success" in the chat below this video. And then also, would you like to know an easy secret to more easily accomplishing success? And if that is for you, hi Tommy, hi Joe, then go ahead and write in the chat below, "I want success." And I'm known as a healing breakthrough facilitator. And what that means, good afternoon, Joe. What that means is that I've often taken things that I've learned from the path of healing, from my own healing of an autoimmune disorder beyond what was expected, and my research with all sorts of health and healing practitioners. And I use those success strategies in other areas of life. If you've been reading my blogs, you've probably seen me do that with dance. And now I'm going to do one for hiking, because what I realized during the summer as I've been building up my training in hiking is a few weeks ago when I was at Glacier National Park and I was doing a 16.5 mile hike all in one day, that I was faster than just about everyone on the mountain, and possibly everyone, but I didn't know everyone's exact whereabouts to know exactly what was going on for everyone, but I was passing everyone. But the other thing was that I got to go farther in the time that other people didn't get to go as far, and that I got to take more breaks and smell the roses on the way. So it's not just about hiking fast. I was just hiking fast because that's where my skill level was, not because I was trying to be Speedy Gonzalez and just finish things quickly. But I got to enjoy the process as well. You are watching, Joe. Thank you for noting that. That's awesome. And I happened to be hiking alone that day, which meant that I got to take notes on all of these thoughts that were coming into my head as I put in the question, why am I hiking faster than most of the people on the mountain? I mean, there are people taller than me on the mountain. So those of you who've seen me, I'm short. I have short legs. There were people who were younger than me on the mountain, quite a bit younger, who would have more energy, more stamina, possibly more strength. Might not have been the case. And I actually created a long list of these tips. I wanted to keep this Facebook Live short, and then we're gonna do more of these at the meditation on October 5. We'll go through the whole list of tips, so you'll get that then. But I thought I would just share 3 of them right now. And the first tip actually comes from Brandon Bouchard, and he completely contributes his success in his work simply because he went past the first mile, right? A lot of people don't succeed in their work, like a lot of people don't get their book published just because they didn't actually write it. They didn't take the steps beyond that first mile. But once you get beyond that first mile, there's less people there, which means you become more noticeable. People become more acclimated to seeing you do what you're doing. And of course, there's all these other things that build in the process of the learnings that happen from going over 1 mile. Those of you who've gone hiking, you probably notice at a lot of the more popular trails that 80% to 90% of the people on the trail do not go past the first mile, right? Half of them don't even start walking on the trail. They just look at the view from the start. And then maybe you notice that 5% of the people who you saw at the trailhead actually go end to end and finish the entire hike. Maybe it's less than that. So that's what we're looking at, is really succeeding in business. Part of that is simply just go past the first mile, which is fun because Brandon Bouchard would say you don't have to be better than anyone else at these things. You just have to keep going. And of course, I did 16.5 miles that day. If this is helpful for you, please remember to like the video and then to share it with other people that will find this information helpful. And the second thing I wanted to mention about this, because right now we're looking at the fact of a lot of us have been fired, unemployed. It's harder to do the work that we've done, right? There's other types of work that are just flourishing during this time. And I know my business has been growing during this time. But for a lot of us, it could feel like a break or a stop. And now imagine when you're hiking, when it starts storming, what is going to happen? Well, on that specific trail, the 16.5 mile hike, it did rain for part of the hike. But guess what? I was prepared in advance for the rain. I had a rain jacket and I didn't mind feeling a little bit of raindrops. So it's like, if we're prepared for challenges before they happen, and we have the mental mindset to survive and overcome these things, but also the physical tools like a rain jacket, then it's a lot easier to weather that storm. And it's okay to be uncomfortable for a little bit of time, right? A lot of us are very uncomfortable right now. But I feel there's a huge beauty that can grow as well from the discomfort that a lot of us are feeling. And a lot of you may already notice, and maybe some of you could share some of those things in the chat below, like what are some of the changes that you've already made in your life? So I couldn't go dancing as much, like pretty much not at all. I can take ballet online and I can dance with a couple friends, in my apartment, but that's it. And that's one of my greatest loves. But I hadn't been out in nature for so long, and that's one of my other great loves. So this stop from dancing as much has created the space for me to get back into nature, which has been an absolutely wonderful experience. But now let's say the storm is so big that you have to stop. So I was hiking with a friend of mine, I don't know, I think it was around 4th of July, so around that time, like maybe the day after that. And we had a storm big enough that we really weren't going to walk in the storm. But we came prepared. We had raincoats. You sure beat me up the mountain last year. I did, Phil. Try me today and you won't even see me. Like I'll just leave you in the dust at the beginning of the trail because I have more training now. I've been doing more hikes past that first mile. But here we are, we're in a big storm, but we were prepared because we had not just rain jackets, like we had ponchos and we had something to cover our pack as well, so our belongings wouldn't get wet. And then we knew we could just go under a tree and protect ourselves for a little bit. Now, notice that I'm still dancing, Joe. Notice that we didn't leave the trail. So we didn't stray from our course. We just took a break, but we stayed on the trail. But what did the break afford us? The break afforded us a moment to chit-chat. The break afforded us a moment to just look at the beauty around us, to take some time to do some planning of, well, where do we want to go from here? And my friend was actually, this is Mythica, I'm talking about when we got caught in the storm, like on the 5th of July. And Mythica's writing this amazing book called Tales of Willing. And she's telling me about the storyline of this book as well. So we had a chance where I could really listen to her telling me the story more easily than we might be huffing and puffing while we're hiking. So these are a couple examples, but maybe we could have chose for a moment to just be dancing in the rain. In the beginning, we were taking photos in the rain and we were enjoying the feeling of the rain, right? The feeling of the challenge that comes up. So imagine all of the ways that you could be using this time where even if you're stopped from your work, could you be studying more about it? Could you be creating a new plan? Could be using this time to refresh and renew, to create a new plan to assess, is this really what I want to be doing? Should I be going on a different trail of the mountain and not this trail today? I chose, one of the things for me was I was just going to have a lot of fun instead of trying to pressure things to happen. So I've been having the time of my life during this pandemic. And another thing that's fun too is because a lot of people are getting off of the mountain, like as public speakers. And if I keep myself on there, so I've been doing some interviews and online webinars, every now and then you're seeing me on Facebook Live, and it gives me an edge over other speakers who have stepped off of the trail during this time. So if the trail still feels right for you, stay on it. But see what you can do within this break if it needs to be a break, or see how creative you could be to make it not a break and move forward in a different direction. Love those little images, Mythica. And Joe, yes, dancing in the rain. That is right. We can do that. The last thing I wanted to mention is that a lot of you also know, you can't tell anymore, barely, just this little scar left here. But there's no more like weird bumps and swelling on my hand, and I'm not wearing a bandage today. But what happened when I was hiking and I was going too fast for my own safety for various reasons, while I had a heavy backpack on me, 1/3 of my body weight, I fell. And I kind of did this interesting like breakdancing move down some steps, and strained and sprained my hand and wrist, possibly in a couple different places. Some of my friends thought it was broken, but there was no x-ray showing that. But I'd been in a bandage for like 5 weeks and not really using my hand, and I'm still not bearing a lot of weight, and I still can't do like my normal yoga and some of the gymnastics stuff that I was doing, and working with a dance partner in the same way. So it was a big fall. It made a big injury on me. It created a big impact. Here's one thing that I learned in dance, and they said this to us in college when I was getting my dance major, was that if you never fall in dance, it means that you don't know where your edge is. Because in order to know where your edge is, sometimes you have to push beyond it and have the fall. And then you know where your edge is. Because that means that in dance, that you could expand how much you could move. So now imagine, how many of you are playing small? Who might have opportunity to potentially play bigger, but maybe you're worried about falling. But what if you did play bigger and you fell, but then you use that as a way to say, oh my gosh, but look, I went, if I normally am here and I fell at here, but I'm probably not going to fall here. So look at how much further I could go for now than where I am right now. I can now see that my edge is further along. And then often when we get injured, when we fall, what does that do? It gives us information. It gives us training. Or when you break a bone, it heals stronger than it was before. So there's another benefit to having that injury, to having that fall, is that we get to recover more easily. So those are the 3 tips that I wanted to share with you right now. And I invite you to mark in your calendars October 5 for the meditation, where I'm going to go through more of these tips on how to safely make rapid progress, to succeed over time, and to enjoy the process of that. And then just a side note, because you have to wait till October 5. So we do these meditations every Monday night. And so I offer a talk similar to what we just did. And then we do some techniques to solidify those ideas and concepts into your daily life, so you become stronger and better at everything that you're doing. Tonight, and I'm taking the topics from what you guys are requesting. So tonight, this was a request. A friend of mine loves to make other people smile. And there's some times where that doesn't work so well. So what do we do in those situations? How much do we really have control over? And how do we contribute in the best way to bringing joy to other people? We're going to explore that tonight. And if you go to avitalmiller.com/members, that's where you'll actually find out information about the meditation group. And then you can always reach out to me to find out more. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, that you go past the first mile, that you figure out how to weather the storm, and that you figure out when you can push your edge a little bit and be okay sometimes with falling. And Fortunato, you said the only times when dancing that my partner and I have ever fallen was laughing. Love that. Love that. That is so cool. When I was working with my dance partner years ago, I get all these ideas and I wouldn't necessarily tell him what I was going to do. So I would literally run and jump on him. And I might give him just one piece of advice. But I wanted to see what we would create without expressing exactly what was going to happen, because you don't always know exactly where the momentum and the body mechanics are going to go. And at all those times doing that, we only fell once. Amazing. So I was pushing the edge, pushing the boundary so many times, like jumping off of a cliff. And yet we only actually fell once. And we didn't get injured. And luckily he fell underneath me. So my landing was soft. All right, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.